All right, welcome. For the last Bond video, I thought it'd be fun to try to rewrite Bond a little bit. I'm going to go through what actually it was. I've got that on the screen behind this, and we'll go over it. But then I set up like an alternate timeline of what Bond could have been. Now, as we do that, there's some things I would call out at the beginning. Like, one, I'm not considering budget and like, could you have gotten this person to act in the movie, or did they have another movie going on at the same time? Don't care about any of that. Don't care about like people being burnt out of Bond. So you'll see, multiple movies where people might have been like, oh, I don't want to see that anymore. But I kind of think of it as if you watched it later on, you might want to go back and watch more James Bond movies. So we'll look at that. But I tried to, I guess, if you imagine you could create the movie using AI, I would put that in. But we also might see some shifts in like actors, movies, and those kind of things. But before we do that, we will look at Bond as it stands today. Bond today is what we know. Dr. No started in 1962. I think Connery was about 31 or so. I'm not going to get those ages exactly right, but we had James Bond was Connery. We had Doctor No. We had Honey Rider as the Bond girl. Classic movie, great movie. It had some things, I'm sure they improved upon, but it's low budget, a lot going on there. It didn't have a theme song, so it was just the Bond theme. Uh, if you saw the video I did on the themes, didn't even use Doctor No. Then, that was just a solid movie. There wasn't like any continuity things we really had to worry about. We get to From Russia with Love. So, From Russia with Love, you had Blofeld and all the henchmen, Rosa and Red and all them. And then the story was just like the spy thriller kind of thing with the girl who is it Tatiana, I think, that thinks she's working for the Russians, but she's really not. And then she realizes it at the end and ends up with Bond. But again, nothing like that we really have to worry about continuity wise in the Bond series, which is fine. Like that's good. You're just kind of going from one case to the next. So we get to Goldfinger. Goldfinger still got Connery, got good song to start. You got our Goldfinger classic villain, and then you got Pussy Galore as the main Bond girl. Fort Knox, Odd Job, all the fun that goes with the golf and little things between Bond and Goldfinger make that movie really good. We had Thunderball, so you can see that the years too. These were like back to back to back, so I'm sure people were like eating this up, and then at some point it maybe gets a little bit old. But you had Thunderball, Largo the villain, Domino. You had Fiona and some other folks in there, but a lot of water scenes. A lot about the missiles and everything they were trying to deal with. Jetpack at the beginning, as you see on the on the cover. But another solid Connery entry. This I think was probably the biggest budget at the time. Just kind of keep getting bigger, and then you get to You Only Live Twice, and I think that's probably kind of the pinnacle for the budget for the Connery era until he comes back because he's getting paid more every time, I'm sure. But You Only Live Twice. They're in Japan. You got Blofeld in this one showing up. You can actually see him. A couple of different Japanese actresses play Bond girls. One is like a fake marriage. One is an agent. But a lot of cool Japan scenes. And then a big fight at the end in Blofeld's lair, which is pretty cool. So we get to kind of Connery being done, right? And then we get to On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Everything before this, there wasn't too much continuity to me, if anything. And then we get to this movie, and it kind of creates a little bit of that. So this is George Lazenby. Connery got replaced. He is more of a model slash actor, but he's physically imposing, has a little bit of that Bond look. The music in this, and I should have said that with the other ones, like Tom Jones and Thunderball, Nancy Sinatra, and You Only Live Twice, both pretty good songs. Not my favorites, but pretty good. Now, Her Majesty's Secret Service really didn't have one. It was a theme, and then Louis Armstrong had a song at the end. Telly Savalas came back as Blofeld, still supposedly the same Blofeld, but a different actor. Again, Bond and Blofeld. And then you had Tracy Bond. So this was the important one because Tracy marries Bond and ends up getting killed at the end. That's it's a or not a controversy. It's a movie where people have differing opinions, is what I would say. But yeah, it's an interesting entry. I thought it was fine. It's just weird within the context, so we'll talk about that in a minute. We get the Diamonds Are Forever. Connery comes back to be Bond. You've got a little bit more of a campy feel in this one. Blofeld is here again, but it's a different Blofeld. Got a couple different girls in this for a little bit. But Tiffany Case is the main girl who's at the bottom there. So a little goofy, but like laser in space using diamonds concept, and Las Vegas, big scene in this one. So some neat things to it. So we get through, the Connery era is pretty well a decade. You see 62 to 71. We get to Roger Moore, Live and Let Die was his first one. The change in tone here, it's a little sillier, a little bit more mystic, and all these things. Had the Great Wings Live and Let Die song. Mr. Big, I can't remember his other name right now, but Mr. Big was just an okay villain to me, but he had a lot of cool henchmen, which was cool. Then Jane Seymour was pretty solid as Solitaire. I thought she was attractive, good, and everything, but it's a weird Bond girl character, reading tarot cards and doing stuff. But I liked it was different, so that's cool. We get to The Man with the Golden Gun. So Moore is just a year later coming back. This one was again a little campy. Had Goodnight, the girl who's a little aloof for a spy. Then you had Lulu with The Man with the Golden Gun song. I didn't like it that much. Scaramanga was a good villain. Christopher Lee was cool. And Roger Moore, I thought, was kind of still getting good. Like he was getting better at being Bond fully. Like he was fine in the first one, but it's just you can see the actors getting more comfortable and like when to be a little quippy, when to be a little bit more serious, and that kind of thing. So then it gets more serious. You have The Spy Who Loved Me. It's not like a serious movie. He's driving a car underwater, but you have Jaws, which is super cool. But the main stuff is around Stromberg, the dude who has the underwater base. They steal the 2 nuclear submarines. You have Agent Triple X, Barbara Bach. The Spy Who Loved Me song's pretty good. So it was a really good movie. I like this one. Had a lot of fun to it. There's not, again, really continuity between movies here. It's just, Bond moving from one to the next. Moonraker, same. You got Roger Moore, similar plot. Guy trying to like blow stuff up to start over the world. But they're in space and Drax is trying to get people to his space station so he can start anew and blow up other parts of the world. I can't remember. Is it like Molly Goodhead, something like that, is the girl who's fine. She's just along for the ride a little bit. But this one's a goofy movie. Jaws is in it, but he's a little campier, ends up having a girl. So some people don't like this because of the campiness. For Your Eyes Only, we're getting a little farther along in Roger Moore, and he was already older than Connery when he started. But you have For Your Eyes Only, the song by Sheena Easton's pretty good. The villain was a little weird because he was like a good guy, kind of, you thought, and then he ends up being the bad guy. The girl, Havelock, saw her parents murdered and was on a revenge tour, so she had a little bit of strong will about her, which was good. But it's pretty forgettable movie for me. I didn't really remember much other than like Bond pushing a car over a cliff and him fighting a bunch of hockey players. And I was going to mention too, and I don't think I said this in my other videos. I was trying to remember which movie it was, and I want to say it was For Your Eyes Only. That when he's at the beginning, he's skiing, he kills Barbara Bach's like husband or whatever, he's another agent. But they play the song California Girls by the Beach Boys. Really weird play. Like, I don't even get it, ironically, that much. Like, I get it, you're in the snow and, there wouldn't be California Girls, but I didn't get it. So, whatever. I like the movie. That was a weird scene. Okay, we get to Octopussy. You have Octopussy as the girl. You have Kamal Khan. You also had Orloff as another villain. All Time High is a good song. I don't love it because it's not an Octopussy song. Like you could have just released that as a single of anything, and I think that's fine. It's just I would have rather had like an Octopussy specific song. But it's a good song. And then Moore is still starting to get a little older. You can kind of tell. But yeah, it's a good movie. A lot going on with like India and the circus and all this stuff. He just dresses as clowns, which people make fun of a lot. But yeah, I enjoyed that movie. Also, the same year, you get Never Say Never Again. So Connery comes back for a non-canon movie, redoes Thunderball. You have the same things, Domino, Largo. He's a little goofier and everything. You also have a Lonnie Hall song that I don't like, that is Never Say Never Again. So just, Connery there for one thing is he's a bit older. But again, Roger Moore's older than him. So, 1985, View to a Kill. Roger Moore comes back for his last movie. You have Max Zorin, you have Christopher Walken playing Max Zorin, you have the girl whose name I can never remember because I thought she was very forgettable in that movie. And then you have View to a Kill, Duran Duran, which I'm sure some people don't love because you start to get to that like new wave era of the 80s. It can be a little jarring for some folks, but I really like that song. It's a goofy movie. There's some fun in it. Mayday's in it. They had some horse stuff at the beginning. They had the Golden Gate Bridge at the end. So I thought it was kind of fun. Like they had some decent ideas within it. Just again, a little campy and strange in parts. Then we get to the Dalton era. So Dalton only has 2 movies. It's got Living Daylights, License to Kill. I like Dalton as Bond. Aha does the first song. Some people hate it. A lot of people probably hate it. I love it. I think it's a fun song to bring energy to a Timothy Dalton type Bond movie. Whitaker's not great as a villain. He's okay. He's just a little goofy for my taste. You also have the other general, and I can't remember his last name, but it's not Orloff. It's something like it. That's the one from the other one. Karpov, something like that. And then at the end you got Miriam Diabu as the girl, so she's just, some people don't like her because she's kind of not really a strong character, just kind of along for the ride, and that tends to not go well with audiences as much. And then you have License to Kill, where it's a little more hardcore even. You have the Gladys Knight song, which is pretty good. Sanchez is an awesome villain. There's some other little like henchmen folks in it and support people that I think are fun. And then there's actually a couple girls. So this is the one he ends up with, who's also an agent. And then there's another one who was Sanchez's girl. So a nice little play on those two things. But we get to 89 and then there's a gap till 95. And 95 is when Pierce Brosnan steps in. There was like contract disputes and stuff, which prevented them from making Bond, like copyright stuff. There's always copyright stuff. I'll put that in the disclaimer for the below too, which is copyright stuff out the window. Who cares? All right, we have Goldeneye, famous Pierce Brosnan opening movie. You have Tina Turner doing the song. It's okay. Not my favorite. Sean Bean playing the villain, Trevelyan, and then Natalia is the girl. She is one of the girls. There's also Xenia, who's like the henchman girl, and some other good side characters, Urmov and Boris and all of them. So there's some fun different scenes and things within this movie too. Like you start to have better, special effects and graphics and things that are like starting to get there too. So good film, good start for Brosnan. Then we have Tomorrow Never Dies, so 97 and 99 coming up again, 2-year intervals. Sheryl Crow song, it's all right. It just is kind of doesn't like escalate to where I wanted it to go for that type of movie. The villain is a little like over maniacal for me, and I don't know. He was okay. It just was not my thing. Like I didn't really get into it, nor did I get into the Bond girl. Like she was much more of a good ally of like fighting, which I liked, but like I didn't get a feel for the love story as much when in the situation that they were in. But it was okay. Get to the World Is Not Enough. You have Garbage doing the song. I thought it was actually pretty good, especially for that time in music, because music was getting bad. And I'm saying this as somebody who was like in high school / getting ready to go to college, this era of music. and that's when it just started to get terrible. And I don't know if it's recovered. I don't think it has. It's probably gotten worse. But you had a couple of villains, Renard and then Electra King. They had a romantic relationship, but she had been abducted and kind of had Stockholm syndrome supposedly. And Denise Richards was the girl. Christmas Jones, not the best. Took me out of the movie. Didn't really like. It was okay. Didn't really love the movie. Die Another Day. We had Madonna doing the theme song. It was not good, but it was like auto-tuned garbage. Madonna has a lot of good stuff in the past. That was just not it. And then we had Jinx as the girl, and then the whole plot was around the North Korean guy at the beginning getting gene therapy and changing in to the villain, and they're trying to create another space laser, which they do. They got one. But the whole plot is to try to stop that thing. They have the ice scenes, the car that disappears, a bunch of dumb stuff. So it was not one of my favorite movies. So the Brosnan era kind of ends. People were tired of it at that point. It was like, this is too dumb. So there's a little bit of a break. Then Casino Royale comes out, and they're like, we're going to be hardcore. We're going to be much more to the books. This is like the original book. There's a lot of, I'm sure, who's going to be Bond things, but it ends up being Daniel Craig, and Daniel Craig was not Bond to me. He doesn't look like Bond, doesn't strike me as Bond, doesn't seem like suave or good looking enough to be Bond, where, when he walks in a room, they show a girl like looking at him, I'm like, I don't think so. Doesn't feel like it. Doesn't mean he wasn't good as being like a physical presence. I think that was the strength of him. That's why Casino Royale to me is still a good movie. I wouldn't call it like, I rated it pretty high on my movies because it's a good movie. It would have been higher if it was a great Bond movie. And I don't know that it was like a great Bond movie. And it wasn't even that the Bond parts were bad. It's just he's not Bond to me. I thought Vesper was actually good in it. Ava Green, I like that character. I think she played the part of kind of being, able to fall in love, but also being like hesitant about him and things like too. I thought she did good. And then I liked Mads Mikkelsen as the villain. I think they could have tweaked some things with him, but for the most part, I liked him. Then I also liked a lot of the like side character / chase scenes and things that made the movie good. So this one's probably the highest rated Bond of all time. Some people love Daniel Craig. I get it, if you're new to him. And I actually asked a bunch of people, like, who do you think is Bond? And the two most popular answers were Connery and Craig. So between those two, I'm sure that's generational, and they see him. And they've had a lot of movies. Moore had a lot of movies, but he's just kind of in the middle for some people. And then okay, we get to Quantum of Solace. Big step back here. The music sucked at the beginning. The villain was boring. The girl was kind of boring. She wasn't terrible. She just didn't really bring anything to it to me. Maybe how it was written, but the plot was just like corporate stuff and like trying to, hold back resources so you can gain monopolies and things. But you start to kind of like, okay, maybe this is just a filler because it was a very short movie. And I understand there's things that go on during this. I don't remember if this was like writer's strike. Some people make excuses like that. I'm like, whatever. So didn't like that movie that much. Then we get to Skyfall. Skyfall is where Bond has like M and has to save M at the end and keep her in his house. And he doesn't save her, she dies, but Javier Bardem's like the villain. He's the Raul or whatever, something like that, who was the agent who's getting revenge, and he's weird and creepy, and I liked him, and I think they could have done a little bit better with it, but I liked the concept of him. Maybe the plot should have been tweaked a little bit. I didn't like the whole end part of it. So yeah, I just didn't like it that much. Spectre, we get worse. Sam Smith's song "Don't Like It at All." I think that won a Grammy. I think, or the other one did too. Adele's, which they're both okay, or that one's okay. The Sam Smith one, I can't even really listen to it. Not my style of voice to listen to, or I feel like there's people who do it better than that. The villain was Blofeld. So this movie creates like a connectivity between all the other ones. Like says, remember that guy? He's Inspector. Remember that guy? He's Inspector. So you try to like tie all that together. All the movies before this, there was like really no great thread that held it together other than Tracy Bond every now and then would be referenced. So they're all technically the same Bond, technically. Now you could also in your mind just say, no, they're actually different Bonds. It's just that like Tracy died in this continuity. That's how I see it. You could do it that way. But anyway, so Swan, the girl was fine. I thought she was fine for the role. I think it was too dour of a role. I think it was kind of, depressing and weird at times. But didn't like Spectre much. And then we get to No Time to Die, and that was like even worse. So No Time to Die has a very dour song at the beginning. I like her voice, Billie Eilish. I thought her voice is good, and I've actually went and listened to a couple other things. She's got a good voice. So it was more just the tone of the movie and the song that was like holding that back. Not really a Bond girl in this. You had Ana de Armas as like a side agent, but she wasn't in it much, and I was like, why not? And then you had Swan, who Bond had a kid with, comes back after 5 years because he thought she had betrayed him. But he had Vesper who had betrayed him, and now he thinks she did it, so he's got that holding him back. Fine, that's all fine. But it gets to the end, and Bond gets killed, and you're just like, what? So, but to sacrifice himself, whatever. The villain was terrible. Rami Malek was fine as an actor and some other things, but it was like, I don't know what it was. It was just everything was like a psychological conversation, and just there was no point. I don't get it. But he's the one who ended up killing Bond. So this is the continuity. Wanted to make sure we walked through that because we're going to try to rewrite it now. We're going to do this without like ChatGPT today, or whatever AI, where people just like ask, do this for me. So I just thought about it, and I went back and was like, who was about whatever. And there were times where I'd like, Google somebody's age or something. It's like, well, how old were they about in 1975 or whatever, to get something close. So what we did was we went back to the beginning, and I just put little sheets over each one. So we'll move them out of the way each time for the movie. So we're talking about Connery here, and you can think like, oh, Connery starts with Dr. No. So we're going to just, start there. And the answer is, no, we're not. No, we're not. We're starting before Dr. No. We're going to start a year earlier than Dr. No. And we are going to start with Casino Royale. And Casino Royale is the original book, the first Bond book. And I think it is the right place to start. And part of the reason I like the new Casino Royale is I like the story. And I think Connery would have done awesome with it. Now, there's some things they would have had to keep from like Dr. No, where, James Bond, him getting introduced at the table, I think is a big important scene. You've got car chases and those kind of things, but you can just take some of the concepts of what was in, the new Casino Royale and apply it here. Again, we're going big. Frank Sinatra doing a Casino Royale song. He was in like Ocean's 11, the original one. So I figured, that's probably still around a time that makes sense for him in 61. And then we have Vincent Price, who's famous for like horror genre stuff. But if I'm thinking of Le Chiffre and trying to be, and they're back then probably not playing poker, they're probably playing like Baccarat or something like that in the book, I think. But I think he'd be a cool villain to have in a Bond movie, in an early Bond movie too. And then we have Audrey Hepburn as the girl. So this would be Vesper. And then we're going to do the Vesper betrayal. So it's going to carry with Sean Connery that he's got this betrayal that he's got to deal with. So much of the plot that you're used to, if you saw the Daniel Craig one, we would apply here. Obviously, some of the special effects won't be as advanced as new ones, but still good, more practical probably. So that's Casino Royale to start, 61. Next one is Dr. No. So we're back to Dr. No. Not changing much here. We're doing Dr. No again. It's a great movie. We could clean a few things up, maybe have a little bit more budget. Don't know how much we need to do. But the one thing I'm going to change is we're going to have Elvis Presley go in and do a Dr. No song. So one of the things I tried to think of as I was thinking of themes for songs is like, could the artist work it in the title of the song into the song, which is a big thing for me. in some way that is like catchy or meaningful instead of it just feeling like a forced thing. So you think of the way Elvis sings, like I could hear him saying like "Doctor, no," as if you're saying "No, doctor, don't do something," and then weaving it into like a Bond type theme. So just my thoughts. There's always other options, but Elvis, young Elvis here, I think could have done it really well. All right, moving on. We're keeping From Russia with Love. We've got Bond again. We've got same actress. I thought she was fine, so I'm not going to take her out. But we are changing a couple things. Number one, Nat King Cole doing the theme. So Matt Monro was a crooner who did it. It wasn't really used at the beginning of the film. It was just instrumental. So I want a Nat King Cole version of that song, maybe reworked to be a little more of his style, but it's pretty close. And then the other thing is we are using Yul Brynner as Blofeld. Now, I have the picture of the cat with the petting because he's still going to be that. We're still only going to see that. We're not going to see him. But I want his voice. I want him there. We might use it later. All right, so that's 63. These are the same years that they were doing them back then. We will get to like a 2-year cadence in a minute, but that's to start. We get to Goldfinger. We're keeping Goldfinger in 64. We are keeping Shirley Bassey on as the voice here. And for the ones that I'm keeping the exact song, I have the same cover, which will only be, I think, a few of them, but you see the cover there. We're keeping Gert Frobe as Goldfinger. My one complaint, I wasn't a huge fan of the Pussy Galore character / actress. I don't know that even she had enough to do or how it was handled. I would expand that role a little bit. I mentioned this in the movie reviews. They need to give her more context for why she might flip and change her mind. I think Elizabeth Taylor, who's beautiful, would fit that role really well, and you'd be able to kind of do that type of a turn with her. All right, so where are we going after this? We're going to Thunderball. We're going to keep Thunderball. So Thunderball, we got Connery. We're going to keep Tom Jones. We're going to change the song a little bit. We're going to tweak it just a little because it's a little too much like Goldfinger to me. But I think Tom Jones, if we reworked it, would be able to do a good job. Largo is out, or at least the actor who played Largo. We're going to keep Largo and make it Michael Caine, a younger Michael Caine. And then we're going to keep Domino, Claudine Auger. And I will say, like, with some of these female actress choices, like, they're actresses I know. I know there's, like, international actresses that they usually pick for some of these roles that I'm not that familiar with, and I'm not going to, like, go hunt all of those. There could be good options out there. But I thought Claudine was great in that. And then Michael Caine, he's used to water roles. He was in Jaws 4: The Revenge. So he's been in that kind of a world, or eventually gets to that kind of world. But I think he's a really good actor, even if in his young roles. So if you go back and watch him, so I think he'd be a fun person to have as Largo. All right, after that, we're going to You Only Live Twice. So this is in Japan. Blofeld is the main villain in the original. We are not going to do that here. Okay, now I know that's controversial. People are like, oh, but Donald Pleasance is I and all this other stuff. Not the time. We're still carrying forward everything, the continuity from before. It's loose, right? We don't really care. There's not any like females or things staying along, but we're keeping the continuity. So Yul Brynner is still Blofeld. I'm going to get Jefferson Airplane. Grace Slick is the main singer. She's got a really good voice, but it's a little harder. Like, think of the song White Rabbit or something like that, where I'd like You Only Live Twice, the song, to have a little more edge to it. The one that's currently there is a really soft, slow song, which I get to an extent. It's pretty. It's like trying to introduce Japan and be, have a little bit of that. I just wasn't feeling it. So I don't know if Jefferson Airplane's the exact right group. They were popular in that era, late 60s, but I like her voice for that kind of thing. Real quick, Sophia Loren, beautiful girl. One of the things that I just didn't get real into with the You Only Live Twice was the Japanese actresses and girls didn't feel like very close to Bond compared to maybe some of the other ones. And maybe there are other options or they just need to rework that. But it's like, okay, if I was going to switch and bring just like another girl in who's like on vacation there, or an agent from somewhere else, which I would have done the agent thing. I would have had her like be a French agent, and had her, trying to do the same thing. You see that in some Bond movies, and then they find each other and help each other. I would have done something like that. And then I didn't know the right answer for the villain, but I wanted it to be Japanese. I don't want it to be Blofeld reveal. And so I went with Akihiko Hirata, who is in Godzilla, the original Godzilla in the 50s. At this era, he would have been in his like late 40s, 50s, I think, as an actor. The one problem is he's not very good at English, apparently, which most Japanese, actors weren't back then. It's hard to find any. They dub, voices. That said, they dubbed Largo's voice in Thunderball. So it can be done. Or you could know you're going to do this and try to train him to speak enough English. Or you could even just, maybe not have him speak English and still be a villain. But it's hard to get audiences to, embrace that. They don't like that. So I get it. But I would go with that. I thought about even promoting Mr. Osato, but he's just not interesting enough. Like, that actor to me doesn't have enough to him that I really cared, but maybe that's an option. All right, so that's 67. Again, we're doing the little 2 years things. On Her Majesty's Secret Service, Sean Connery stays this time. So we still have the same Sean Connery. This is a very important movie. We are bringing in the Beatles, late Beatles, to do the song. And why would we do that? They had a song called Her Majesty. Now, it's not a good song. It's like a little snippet they didn't even want in the album, I don't think. But let's take that and expand it to be something meaningful and make a good Beatles Bond song, which I think we can do. We're going to have freaking Marlon Brando as the villain in this, and it's not Blofeld. Blofeld's the original villain, but we can make a good, compelling villain that's even similar to what Telly Savalas was in the original, where maybe he's got that same plot, that same, scheme he's trying to execute on. Totally fine. And then we're going to have Jane Fonda as the girl. Jane Fonda, beautiful, a little controversial with some of the takes back then, but she's beautiful. She is like a good, wholesome, but strong kind of girl that I would want to be a Tracy Bond. So the goal here is, can we, within this film, do a couple things? So in the original, we had to just have him fall in love with Tracy Bond. They did it through like a montage. I never felt they were actually in love. That was just me. Then they get married. She dies. We got to be better about it here. We need to have him, one, overcome his like Vesper betrayal problem from before, right? Because we didn't have that in the original. So now we do, because we had Casino Royale. So she's got to get him past that. She's got to help him with his problem, and he's got to help her with her problem. And in doing so, they fall in love, get married, and then she gets killed at the end. That's the plot. So you have the same ending, but you earn it. And it's Connery. He's holding the same things from before. So I think that would be a really impactful movie. So why in the world do we have one after this? Because you got to have some revenge, right? Like, we do need to have revenge. So the revenge is Diamonds Are Forever. We need to change the tone of this a little bit. It cannot be the campy movie that it was. But we're going to have Diana Ross do the song. I think the song's pretty good originally. It's not perfect, but it's a good song. And I think Diana Ross's voice would be really good for a Diamonds Are Forever type song. So I think she was out of the Supremes at this point. They had split and the Supremes were still going. She was still going. So I would say Diana Ross. You could also say like an Aretha Franklin or something maybe. But I went with Diana Ross. Then we'll have Yul Brynner. Yul Brynner as, from before, Blofeld. So he now is imposing. Yul Brynner looks the part and sounds the part to me. He has a deeper voice when he wants to. He's got the look. You could even do the scar. You can do whatever you want with Blofeld, but make him more of the serious version of him, not the Donald Pleasance campy version, not even the Telly Savalas just nutsy version. Make him the persona of the guy who's behind the desk with the cat. Like, that's what I want. And then Raquel Welch. So gorgeous girl, right? And what we don't want to necessarily do is have a girl he just like ends up marrying. That's not the point of this. Like he's still going to hold that in him that he lost the girl he loved, but she's going to be like the girl who's strong enough to be like a sidekick slash agent slash love interest or whatever, to be there with him. So that's that. That gets us to the end of the Connery era, and we're going to make it a hard end. Like, that's it, end of Bond. Then we're going to start with a new era. So let's get to the new era. Whoops, I didn't mean to like move my stuff. So, all right, moving over, new era. That's what this line kind of delineates here. All right, first movie, Live and Let Die. We're keeping it. So we've got Roger Moore. We're keeping Roger Moore. We got the Wing song. We're keeping the Wing song, Live and Let Die. We are changing a couple of the main characters in here. I don't even think they were terrible. I just think let's make some changes, and you'll see why. So Billy Dee Williams, super cool, super suave. I'd like to see that type of villain versus what they had. And the reason is the henchmen were so much more of an attention-taking kind of entity in this movie that I just totally didn't pay much attention to Mr. Big and Dr. Kabongo or whatever his name was. And so I think he could play both those parts. I think he can play the kind of, cool dude that's like running the drug ring, and then he can also play like the doctor kind of role. So Billy Dee would be good there. And then Faye Dunaway. And you're like, well, wait, we lost Jane Seymour. Why would we do that? Yes, I love Jane Seymour in this movie. But with the mysticism stuff, the crazy stuff, I think Faye Dunaway would have been a better character actor for that. Like where she could be a little weird, a little creepy, still be beautiful, do a lot of things. She was kind of in her wheelhouse about that time of her career. So I think that would have made for like a cooler use of that character that reads tarot cards and those kind of things, solitaire. So that's Live and Let Die. We're just kicking off, the beginning of the Roger Moore era. All right, next one, Man with the Golden Gun. We're keeping it. We are doing Pink Floyd as the artist for this. And the reason we're doing Pink Floyd is because The Man with the Golden Gun is a difficult title to fit in a song. One, I don't think the song was very good that they had before, that Lulu did. And I think they could add a little of the psychedelic to it to make it a cool sounding, song, because they can make even the movie a little bit more psychedelic, which it already has some of that, right? With the funhouse kind of shooting and everything. And I think Pink Floyd would be awesome for weaving that theme into the rest of the movie. And I think it would make it a cool, as long as they kept that tone throughout the movie. It's a little goofy. They could kind of get rid of some of the goofiness, but we're not losing Christopher Lee Scaramanga. We're not losing Nick Nack, keeping all that stuff, but we are switching the girl. I am not a huge Goodnight's terrible person. She's okay to me. I thought she was fun, and in a campy movie, she's just a little bit of a goofball. But we're changing the tone, and we need somebody who's capable to kick ass and to be a partner to Bond and actually be an agent. We're going with Wonder Woman herself, Linda Carter, which, she's probably in Wonder Woman at this point. But it's she would be a commanding presence and be a nice addition to his fight against Scaramanga. So 1974, we're just going, this is when those two movies came out. So I kept the dates for those. All right. The Spy Who Loved Me. Changing a couple things here. I like this movie a lot. Again, I'm not so sure about the California Girls at the beginning. So we're going to switch the song, though. The song's good. The song is good. I like the song. It wasn't in my Mount Rushmore of best songs, though. It was the tier below. And I'm like, well, who would I have sang a Spy Who Loved Me song? Billy Joel. 70s Billy Joel. It's got a great voice, would sing that type of song really well. Again, I think it would be a cool theme, his bluesy sound would be great as a theme throughout the movie. A lot of these, you hear that where the initial song becomes part of the theme. They have the Bond theme, then they have the song. And I think his would be really good. Keeping Barbara Bach, obviously she's on my Mount Rushmore of girls. And then we're switching Stromberg. It was in my initial notes when I watched the movie. I'm like, Stromberg should be better. And it's not even really the actor's fault, I don't think. Like, they just didn't do enough with him particularly, or maybe the other things around him made him less interesting to me. So I'm like, we need somebody with more personality, a little bit more like intimidating, and that to me is Telly Savalas. So even though he can't be Blofeld earlier, we're bringing him in a little later, letting him be a little older, and being a Stromberg type character. So similar plot concepts. I'd feel better about him like interacting with Jaws or those kind of things. So I think he's a really, really good actor. He just needed a better role. All right, moving on. Moonraker, we're keeping it. Now, we're going to do some pretty obvious things with Moonraker. Number one, David Bowie's got to be the artist. Like, come on, everything space related, gotta have him. We're taking Ian Holm from Alien and putting him in also from the Lord of the Rings movies. But he is, a little younger here. This is around the time of Alien. This might have been Alien year. I can't remember. So again, ignore the fact. Just imagine we're making an AI movie and he can do both at the same time. But I think he brings a little bit, he could do a Drax type character. And I didn't mind the original Drax. We're just trying to make it a little bit more of a serious movie. Most of these campy ones, it's like just a little bit more serious. And I think Ian Holm would make it a little bit more serious. And then we are bringing in Princess Leia herself. We're bringing in Carrie Fisher, again, around Star Wars times. I get it. But at the same time, if you think of, was it Molly or Holly Goodhead? I can't remember which one it is. She would play a much better version of that character. Have sass, have, pushback, still be capable of like going up in the space station and doing her thing. She already proved it. We know that. And then the last thing I'll say, let's try to do it on the moon. Why not? We did it on a space station. My only hang up with this was, it takes like 3 days to get to the moon. Are you going to have scenes of them like traveling to the moon and trying to fight while they're in this like space shuttle station thing? Or are you just going to do what Bond always does and goes from one place to the other in like 5 minutes? I was like, I'll give myself a break and say maybe. So I would just say that's a consideration. I could see them doing like a lunar base and it being cool to actually get there and fight on the moon. All right, so we're at the end of the 70s. We still have Roger Moore going right now. We are going to reveal For Your Eyes Only, so we're going to keep that as well, coming after it. Young Michael Jackson, younger, already in a solo career, right? Doing a For Your Eyes Only, I think he'd be good with the song about eyes and everything. Beautiful voice. I think he'd, again, be great with the theme. Jessica Lange is the girl. Jessica Lange's a beautiful girl. I think she would fit, the kind of theme of that movie. The plot, again, we're kind of keeping the plot. So you think about the skiing and all the, stuff there. I think she's, got the blonde hair, the alpine stuff. So that's good. And then the actor for the turncoat, I was like, who could I get? Because the guy, they kind of come off as like Nordic people, and I didn't really, the actor was fine, but it wasn't like anything of gravity. So I was like, let's get somebody with gravity. And what could we do? So I got Max von Sydow, or Sydow, or however you pronounce his last name, because he has done this. He has been the guy you trust, who then you don't trust in like Minority Report. He's much older, right? But if you get that type of character and put it in this type of movie, I think that would be really good, because he has a lot more weight in his presence as an actor than the guy that they had to play Christos, or whatever his name was. So again, this is 81 with the same similar plot with For Your Eyes Only, just a couple changes. All right, Octopussy. Again, we're keeping Roger Moore, 1983, year I was born. Octopussy's the hardest song to do because I want that in the title. And then they had like All Time High, good song, but not in the title. So I was like, who could fit this into a song and make it make any sense? And I thought Elton John. And of course, that's got to be right. Like, I think he'd be great. You could, I don't even know what the association is. You could say like, she has 8 paws and you're killing me with your 8 claws or something like that, right? It's Octopussy, like a cat. So something like that, I think you can make work. You keep Louis Jourdan, cool character. I like Kamala Khan. He is a fun character. I want him in it more than he was in the original. There are some things in here I would clean up with this movie. You don't need freaking Bond doing the Tarzan chant as he, or roar as he went through the jungle. So make it again a little bit more serious. And instead of the girl they had as Octopussy, we're putting Jane Seymour back in. She's a little bit older. She was beautiful all the way up. I mean, I remember her in the 90s and then in the 2000s still being beautiful, right? So she's got like this years out, she could be in any Bond movie. But I think this is a good place for her to be in Octopussy. And you see that we have a line next to it. So this is the end of the Roger Moore era. So you could, if you wanted to find the closure, I don't think we have to. I don't think we had to have as much continuity with the Roger Moore era. They can just be fun movies and kind of get to the end. But you could have him fall in love and be done or whatever. But I think you just end it, and that's it with Roger Moore. Well, one thing we don't have in here in 83 right now is Never Say Never Again. So let's go forward. We still don't have Never Say Never Again. We skip it. We get rid of it. It's out. We don't get the non-canon Sean Connery movie. He got closure in his original run. He doesn't need it now. So we got Timothy Dalton stepping in a little earlier than he did this last time in real life. He is going to do View to a Kill. This will be his first movie. We're keeping the Duran Duran song, View to a Kill. It fits him and that energy that he will bring to the role. We're keeping Christopher Walken as Max Zorn. We're going to move the girl that I can never remember into Kim Basinger. So Kim Basinger was Domino in Never Say Never Again, but we're shifting her over to play the girl who's like the heiress to the oil place or whatever that Max Zorn's trying to buy. And I think she'll be fine. I think that'll be good role for her. A good start for Timothy Dalton. Similar plot, but we can make it like a little bit, more serious. Just a little bit. All right, keep going. So then we go to The Living Daylights. We've got similar things here. Keeping the Aha song, I get it. People hate it. If you're going to change it, if you're going to have another group do it, you could go like old school and try to get like an old artist, come back and do it. I would say you do something like a Depeche Mode, something that even if you don't like the Aha version, you get something with that energy to keep the energy going. Because this movie has that. I said this on the other one. Part of the value of that song is not the song itself. It's that if you listen to the theme throughout the movie, it's a good theme. Like it just keeps the movie going along with the Bond theme. So some changes here. We're keeping Miriam Diabo as I think it's Kara is her name. I know some people don't like her, but I think, and it's going to play a part here, I liked the chemistry of her with Timothy Dalton. I thought that felt somewhat natural compared to some of the other, times you have Bond girls, and that there was a genuine love there to an extent. I'm good with this movie ending kind of the way that it did in the original, where he shows up at her concert and they kind of seem like they're in love, and I would just kind of leave it at that, and that's fine. Now, we are, though, switching Whitaker. So Whitaker is the American guy who's arrogant and acts like he's a general, but he's kind of goofy a little bit for the movie, to Dennis Hopper. Dennis Hopper is going to play the kind of crazy American guy that, is like a military dude. I could see him in the garb, but he doesn't have to be as just nutsy as he was. Think of a good Dennis Hopper villain type character. I think that would fit better in this type of movie. Okay, so that's the group there. And then we've got License to Kill. We're keeping License to Kill. We're keeping a lot of License to Kill because I like that movie. We are going to switch the song. It was okay. Wasn't my favorite. We're going to give Madonna another shot. We're going to go earlier Madonna and do a solid License to Kill version. You could do either, and I would assume it would be, I want more of a slower version of her for this. Certainly not a Die Another Day. But it doesn't have to be a super slow. I mean, she's done ballads. I think of like Take a Bow, like could go to that level, or you could do something kind of in between, like some of her other songs. But versatile enough to be able to do it, and she's in her prime around there in '89. So Sanchez, I forgot, I got the wrong title here. I cannot remember that guy's name. I just copy and pasted it, but we'll give him credit where credit's due, whoever that actor is. So Sanchez stays the same. These things just don't go away. Sanchez stays the same. His henchmen stay the same. Plot stays the same. A lot of, the car chase and those kind of things are good. Then we have Talissa Soto. Who's Talissa Soto? She's the other girl in this. There's two girls. The one up above is the one Bond ends up with, and I'm going to say, let's switch that. Now, that's just a selfish thing because I thought I liked this girl better than the other girl. I would have somehow figured out a way to make her it, but it's fine to have both of them in it and still do a similar thing. So I like that movie a lot, and we mostly kind of keep it the same. All right, let's get to the next one. What is this? This is a new movie. We are extending the Timothy Dalton era. I just decided to make up a name of the movie, make up who would be in it, and like a high level concept, not even a plot really. But it's like you put it on the whiteboard and say, hey, can we do this? We're 2 years out. And if you remember, we had a gap. We had a gap between Dalton and Brosnan and a problem there, right? Where we just didn't have Bond for a while. So this is called Thrill to Kill. I've got this being a Whitney Houston song. I've got it being in Chicago. We haven't done a Chicago, location. So let's have Rutger Hauer, who's in like Blade Runner, as Roy Beatty, come in and be the villain. And we're going to give Halle Berry a different shot. She's not going to be in the future movie, Die Another Day. This is going to be younger, Boomerang type Halle Berry, the movie she was in around that time. So could be other actresses, but I'm thinking of somebody from kind of that. I think she's from Cleveland originally. So, kind of up there. But I think it would be fun to do like a Chicago version, kind of get that Midwestern American feel. Would be a change for the Bond series. So that would be 91. And then we're going to the swan song of 93 for Timothy Dalton. This is his last movie. This is The Dying Sunset. So we had The Living Daylights. This is going to be the reverse. This is The Dying Sunset. Why this movie is important. So we're keeping some continuity here. Now, I don't know exactly how this is going to work, but I'm going to have George Michael as the song. I think he can do a good ballad type Dying Sunset song. Got a great voice. Alan Rickman, classic villain, Die Hard. Let's have him in here also, Snape, for those Harry Potter fans. And we're bringing in Olivia Diabo as the girl. So you notice, same last name as Miriam Diabo. In real life, they're only like second cousins or something, I think, if that. So they're not really that closely related, but they kind of look like they are. And we're going to set this in like Germany. So the reason that I had that is I was thinking they could do a plot where he did kind of fall in love with Miriam Diabo. They weren't necessarily a thing because she had her own orchestra stuff she had to go to. He wasn't going to be there, but she ends up getting murdered. Now, she, if you remember all the way back from The Living Daylights, was in like Czechoslovakia, from around there. So this would be that like Alan Rickman's character, for whatever motivation, ends up killing her. And Olivia Diabo, who's her sister, who is trying to like get revenge. And Timothy Dalton finds her, falls in love with her, and that's his end. Right? They get revenge and take out Alan Rickman. Something like that. And you could always tie in, the last couple movies, like if Rutger's working for Alan or something like that. So you don't have to do Spectre or anything there. We didn't do that with Roger Moore either. This is just like a little contained, James Bond series here. All right, moving on. Let's scroll down just a little bit. All right. So we moved to Pierce Brosnan. We've got GoldenEye. Not changing much here. Favorite movie in the Bond series. One thing I'm changing is the song. And I was like, who could we get to do a good GoldenEye song? I'm going to give Chris Cornell another chance. His later on Casino Royale song, not my favorite, but he's got a cool voice. This is 95. This is kind of like grunge, but not quite the high point of grunge. That's kind of, starting to get out there. But these bands are good around this time. And I think Soundgarden would do a good job with like a GoldenEye song. Could pick there's some other bands you could choose from around this time, but I'm not going to like pick the Red Hot Chili Peppers or something like that. I think Soundgarden, Chris Cornell's got like a classy voice that he could do for a Bond theme. All right, so GoldenEye is out. We move on. We are in Tomorrow Never Dies. We're going to shift Tomorrow Never Dies a little bit. So Oasis is going to do the song. I thought the song was not very good. The Sheryl Crow is just okay. It's just kind of bland. We're going to bring some energy to it with Oasis. And then the villain, is a megalomaniacal, media mogul dude who's trying to take over the world and control information. Nobody better than Ed Harris, right? Did it in the Truman Show in a way. Let's take that. Also was in The Rock as like the villain. Let's put him here. Let's give him some Bond effort with the villain role. So that's good. And then Tia Carrere. So Tia is from like Wayne's World, was in True Lies, is a good villain girl. You could also tweak this where she is in one of these movies, like the girl who turns on him. She would be great for that. But the whole role of Michelle Yeoh or whatever it is, where I said before, she's like the love connection's just not there. It's more just like violent fighting, motorcycle chases. I think Tia could do that, and I think she could also bring some of that element of love to it more so than maybe before. I think she's Cantonese or something, so it also kind of aligns with where this is held. I'd probably keep Terry Hatcher in it too. I know I mentioned her in the other videos. She's like the girl who dies in it, and I think she was fine. So most of that stuff stays the same. All right, moving on. We got tomorrow. The World Is Not Enough. So The World Is Not Enough needs to change. This is when movies get a little dumb. You can keep, concepts of the plot for sure. It's fine. 99 is a hard time to pick an artist. If you go look at like, who are the artists in 1999 that are popular? It's like, my gosh, this is rough. So I went with Cher. Cher was still somewhat, she was in like, always in like the lexicon of who's an old star that's out there. But she had some hits. Like once you hit the late 90s and early 2000s, it got to where she was like Believe or whatever that song is, like super, auto-tune stuff. But she had a good voice. And I think you could make a classy kind of Cher song for, a callback to have one of those older artists come in, which I like to have every now and then, to do a Bond song. So this is probably the time to do it in my mind. We're going to have Ben Kingsley as the villain in this, replacing Renard. I think you could still use Electra King. I think Sophie Marceau was good and fine in that role. But I'm going to replace Denise Richards, and I'm assuming we still have to keep kind of the American nuclear person, Jennifer Connelly. Smart, seeming, beautiful, like perfect for that type of role to me. So Jennifer Connelly. She's another one who could have been in movies across many eras, I'm sure. All right, moving on. Die Another Day. Got to clean this one up a lot. We're going to go with Prince. Now, I could have done the easy thing and put Prince at 1999 and made that joke. But instead of doing that, I said, you know what? I think Die Another Day, the name fits a song he could write better than The World Is Not Enough. But maybe not. You could switch them. If those two you wanted to say, well, let's make Prince 1999. But I think people would have just run with that joke too long. Hugo Weaving is going to be the villain instead of the dude that we had earlier. Menacing Matrix, Agent Smith around this time. Just a good actor. I think he would have been a lot more compelling and intimidating as a villain. His brashness wouldn't have been so like cartoonish, and then Angelina Jolie. So just thought, kind of where we were with Halle Berry doesn't really fit, but we need somebody who's like an agent, who's beautiful and can come out of the water in a bikini, but also start sword fighting and stuff. Angelina Jolie could do that. So I think she'd be a good pick there. All right, so that probably ends the Brosnan era. No, it does not. We're still going. So we're keeping Pierce Brosnan past that. We're going to 2003. And I know he's getting a little older, but it's okay. We're going to do the Bullseye. This is going to be in Spain. This is partially because we haven't done anything in Spain, and Spain's really cool. Like do something in Barcelona, Madrid, and you'd be good. And I know they have multiple locations. You can like go from somewhere else, but in the end, it's Spain for there. And I didn't really have it in that block right, but Spain. We can use Shakira. I was looking for like a Latin singer. You could do somebody who actually has like Spanish, Spain roots, but you know, she's Colombian, I think. You could go with, you know, I don't even remember Enrique Iglesias about that time, or Julio Iglesias if you wanted to do an older version. But we've had a couple older artists, so we're going to go young, and we're going to say Shakira. Antonio Banderas as the villain. He's like, duh, why wouldn't he be a Bond villain? He'd be great. And then Penelope Cruz as the girl, who I think is, you know, I think she's Spanish, like from Spain, but I think that'd be a nice little addition, you know, like a good movie for a Pierce Brosnan Bond. And then 2003 to his last movie. I think this is his last movie. We'll see, but I'm pretty sure it's his last movie. So this is 2005. He might have been too old, you know, but at this point, just make up, whatever. We're going to go U2 for No Time to Die. About that time, they were still, you know, kind of popular. I could be convinced we should use somebody else, but again, it's sometimes slim pickings on who you're getting there, and they really haven't been used yet, and I think they could do a pretty good theme. We're going to do Ireland. Why are we doing Ireland? Pierce Brosnan's from Ireland. So this is a little bit of an homage to Pierce. It's a little bit of a send-off of like, good job, you were Bond. We're going to do it in Ireland. U2's from Ireland. Gabriel Byrne's from Ireland. I don't think Naomi Watts is, but I thought Naomi Watts is super hot, beautiful, especially around that time. We need to have her in a Bond film. So let's put her into No Time to Die. So who knows what the plot is necessarily for the Bullseye and No Time to Die, but similar concepts, somebody trying to do something that needs to get thwarted. So that's the Pierce Brosnan era. From 95 to 2005, we give him a 10-year run. All right, we're not done. We're going to keep going. We still got 20 years or something to catch up to. All right, so now things change big time. No more Daniel Craig as James Bond. And I know some people are going to be like, all right, turn off the video. This guy sucks, which you probably should have thought a long time ago if you were being smart. But no, we are not doing that. We're doing Henry Cavill. Now, Henry Cavill's pretty young here, okay? And he was in the role, or in the running for the role, but he was young. I think that was kind of the issue. But the dude looks like Bond. The dude is physically imposing. He's been in movies like this. He's natural. Should be Bond at some point. Justin Timberlake is the song. I don't know if that's the right fit, but he's okay. The reason I say like a Justin Timberlake, again, I think he can get a little quirky with his lyrics and be good. The movie is called Double Number 7, but the pun is Double No 7. Okay. There isn't a 007 yet. These folks are competing to be 007. So it could be that it's Clive Owen is one of them who doesn't get it and becomes a villain. You have Henry Cavill here, and then a third person who could be James Bond, who's Daniel Craig. Okay, so we're not losing Daniel Craig. Hopefully you people didn't leave because we're going to have some Daniel Craig movies. So what happens is effectively that, and Anne Hathaway is a great pick, I think, here. Another actress who can do kind of both the, she could be like an agent kind of person if that's the role here. It's in the UK. They're competing for this. He becomes a rogue, Clive Owen becomes a rogue agent, and then they have to go get him. And it's like their first experience. And that mission or whatever is what gets Henry Cavill the 007 job, but they figure out that they're going to use Daniel Craig as 008. Okay, so you've got kind of a spin-off here, which gets us more money. And what we're going to do is we're going to have every year be a Bond movie, then a 008 movie, whatever you want to call them. We need to come up with a good name, and we need to come up with a good theme that is his own, right? I think you could do that, and then we'll show what happens. All right, so continuing the Henry Cavill version. Casino Royale. It is now Henry Cavill. It is not Daniel Craig. It's a very similar concepts in movie. We're keeping Mads Mikkelsen. I'm keeping Ava Green. You could argue, okay, because we're changing and we need to switch these actors too, but I don't think so. I think the side characters and everything were fine. I would keep it. And then when we get here, I am not the biggest like new music listener, so I am basing these things off of like small samples of who I think could do something. I think Lady Gaga can do a good, elegant Casino Royale type song. So that's who I chose for this. I don't remember her era so much, like when she started. I thought she was big enough by now, but I think that's it. So this is our 2009 movie. Then we get to 2010. So this is where we have Daniel Craig stepping in. And what we're going to do is have a movie called The Lion's Bane. So The Lion's Bane is Daniel Craig. It's 008. Remember, this isn't a Bond film. We'll have Beyonce, somebody like that, do the theme. James Earl Jones, little older, and then Charlize Theron. We're going to do this in South Africa. So like concepts here, we need lions trying to eat people, because I don't think we've had that in Bond. That's like the main motivation here. I want James Earl Jones rocking his Coming to America type persona, right? Where he's got the cool stuff on and everything. Doesn't have to do that, but it's like conceptually, I could see him being a diamond runner or something in South Africa. I think Charlize Theron is from there. That kind of a movie, right? And I think it would be a fun adventure for Daniel Craig. Like, and he could be very physical, fighting a freaking lion, something like that, right? So that's the thought. All right. We are now, that was 2010. So moving on, we're at 2011. Quantum of Solace. We got to rework this one. This was boring. We're going to extend it, make it a little longer. It's another title that's tough to put in a song to make sense. I think Coldplay could do it. This is after I've stopped listening to Coldplay at this era, but they could probably weave in some sort of theme that is, talking about a quantum of solace, and it makes sense. So Coldplay. Vincent Castle. I don't know this actor all that much. I did go look at some scenes just to like validate this. French, much like the guy who was already in this role, but much more menacing and commanding. Like, that's what that guy should be. So thought, let's replace him there. And then if you remember, we had like Olga Kurylenko as the Bond girl above. I'm going to replace her with Jessica Alba. Most of that's just because I think Jessica Alba is great. But I think she could fit in that type of role that was just the girl who was trying to get a little bit of revenge, right? So there's nothing big changing in the plot and all that. It's just changing some of the faces and maybe some of the motivations and stuff a little bit with their acting. All right. Then we're going to scroll down a bit because we got to go back and do a 008 movie now. So we are doing, and obviously these are all new, we'll call this Blackjack. And it's going to be Samuel L. Jackson. It's going to be his character, which obviously he's Jackson, so we could keep that. And he could be like a, casino type criminal or a gambling type criminal. We'll let Alicia Keys get another shot. She did that other theme later on with Jack White. Go back to what she used to do and be a little, she could be a little bit more, I guess, energetic, but she doesn't need to be as energetic as she was in the new song. Like, just dial it back a little bit. But it could be a fun song, for a movie like this. I think we should do something in New York. I don't know that we've done anything in New York since like Live and Let Die. So there's a lot that changed since like the 70s in New York. It's much different. I would kind of bring it back there. And then I have Megan Good as the Bond girl. I think she'd be a good character. She could be like almost in a relationship with Samuel Jackson, or she could be a relative. You could even tie some of these movies together if you wanted to. Don't have to, but like, I think she'd be a good Bond girl around that time. All right, back up. James Bond. Next year, Skyfall. So we're not changing those movies. We are going to change some of the movie itself. We're not going to do a Home Alone ending. We're not going to do some things that are ridiculous. We're going to keep Javier Bardem. We're going to change the character a little bit to make it just a little bit better in my mind. We can keep the Adele song. I know people love it. Fine, we'll keep it. If not, we can keep Adele and just tweak the song, whatever. And then I'm going to change it to be Olivia Wilde in this one. So Olivia Wilde's been in a lot of things over the years, but beautiful, elegant, can be a good Bond girl. This Skyfall, the original, I hardly remember there was a Bond girl even in it. So I think they need to expand this role to be something more memorable. It was just a girl who was like getting him to the island, and then she gets shot. So let's not just do that. and be a little bit more thoughtful about how we're using her. Okay, and so like I said, I have this as 008 down here, just so folks don't get confused. And then we have In the Nick of Time. So we're going to do this in Vegas. And I'm getting Bryan Cranston. And I took this picture of him because I kind of want him to be like this. I want him to be like a quirky scientist kind of guy dealing with something with time. Now I know, we've done the whole mysticism thing only once and everything, but maybe we get into just a teeny bit of science fiction close stuff here. Maybe not, but like that was my thought. The Killers could do a good like track for this. I think they're from Vegas. And then Morena Baccarin, who I think is beautiful. She's been in several things, but Deadpool's where most people remember her. I saw her in V when she was younger. But I think she'd be a good like character in a Las Vegas type of an atmosphere. All right. Again, those are just like fun movies. Off to the side, Daniel Craig can be like blowing up Las Vegas. All right. All right. We are bringing Never Say Never Again back, but we're changing some of the plot. So we have to remember Casino Royale did happen. So again, this is Vesper. Vesper betrayed Bond. We're going to have Henry Cavill carrying that forward, just like we did with Connery. So we're back to that kind of world. And he gets to Never Say Never Again. And we're going to do some of the of Her Majesty's Secret Service plot. So with that, we have Cillian Murphy. We have Natalie Portman. And we're going to have him fall in love with Natalie Portman. Now, we could find a different actress or whatever here. It's fine. But we have to find somebody who has a little bit of like elegance and will be a little believable in the falling in love part for me. But the other part of this that I picked Natalie Portman for, she's done the whole I'm going to die at the end of a movie because, we're married and I still died. Star Wars, Phantom Menace, and the all the way up through Revenge of the Sith, that whole arc. So yeah, she's done it. Have her do it here. Again, could be somebody else. But we'll do it in Portugal. That's where Teresa Bond died the first time, I think. And we're going to kind of rerun a little bit of that. Now, we want to make sure like we do it right with the villain. Like we got Cillian Murphy. He's a good, like sinister looking person. Going back to On Her Majesty's Secret Service, it was Blofeld. We're not going to do that here. But it's got to be Blofeld like pulling the trigger, like not necessarily pulling it, but knowing that Blofeld did it, because we do need some of the revenge factor here. So he's not the main villain, but he's the driver of it. But we got to go back down. We're not done with 008. Swan Song. So Madeline Swan was the girl that Daniel Craig fell in love with in his movies, and Spectre and No Time to Die. We are going to have her be a character again, but we're going to replace the actress. She was fine, but I'm going to just change it to Emily Blunt, who I think has a little bit more to her, can be a little bit more energetic maybe than the other one. This won't be quite as dour. We're going to have Benedict Cumberbatch as the villain. We're going to do this in Austria because that's just where Madeline Swan was when Bond found her, so it could be other places, but that's it. And we'll give Billie Eilish another shot. Like I said, her voice was pretty. Let's and it could be a dour song because it's called Swan Song, but let's make it somewhat a little more upbeat than it was before. Okay, now we have two that are actually lined up here. And why is that? because we are going to have a movie that is called Spectre. And Spectre has both in it. So, Inspector, I keep saying Inspector, it's not the word, it's two words. In the movie Spectre, we have Henry Cavill. We have John Legend doing a good soulful song. James Spader as Blofeld. So lose the hair a little bit. But James Spader's Blofeld. And then Gal Gadot as the girl, the Bond girl. So remember, Natalie Portman, Tracy Bond, died in the prior movie. This is a revenge tour of a full movie for Bond. He's going after Blofeld. He has to enlist the help of Daniel Craig. Okay? Now, Daniel Craig come 008, 007. My gut here, Daniel Craig's got to die. We killed him in No Time to Die, right? So we kill him here. But he is who saves Bond to get to Blofeld. And Blofeld ends up getting taken out by 007. So that is the overall concept. I think it makes a lot more sense. And I'm blocking probably some of the thing there. But so no other Bond girls or anything. You could choose what you do with like Madeline Swan. We could either kill her, but again, you're getting repetitive. It's like, oh, Tracy Bond died, Madeline Swan died. You could though. I mean, if you wanted to say like Blofeld got her too, that's why they're teaming up, whatever. Something like that. Okay, so where does that take us? Well, it takes us to the end of the Henry Cavill and Daniel Craig era. So we then have another era we've got to fill in. We're only in 2017. There's 4 movies we have to do to catch up. And my thought here is we just need to kind of reboot the old ones. With an exception. We are not going to do Casino Royale again. We're not going to so much worry about the beginning and Vesper and all the changes that happened because of that. We're going to make Dr. No with Tom Hiddleston. So Loki, who's been in other stuff, who kind of can show like this. Rihanna with the song. I'll tell you why. John Cho is Dr. No, who's, I think of him from Harold and Kumar, but he's like 50 now, 50 something, so older. And then Zoe Saldana, who's Gamora and the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Now, if you recall, Dr. No is in like the Caribbean. It's close to Jamaica, is where the end part. So I thought Rihanna's from the Caribbean, Zoe's from the Caribbean. Like you can kind of give that Caribbean flair to it. So let's just do that to start. And then we're going to do From Russia with Love. And From Russia with Love is going to have Paul McCartney. Older Paul McCartney, but he's still making music, still is today. Coming back and doing a good, classy From Russia with Love theme. This will cap off his Beatles, Wings, Paul McCartney delivery of Bond themes. We have Gary Oldman, who's going to play the kind of main villains in this. We could use him as a Blofeld if we chose, or we could use him as like a main Russian villain. This one we've got to cast good henchmen because that's what drives a lot of this movie. But I think Gary Oldman's a good kind of creepy villain type character as well. And then we're going to leverage Ana de Armas more than she was used before. She can play a Russian, I'm sure. If she can't, we'll get somebody else. You could get like a model, Irina Shayk or somebody like that to do it. But I think she needs another shot. This might not be the best place for it, but we'll do it there. So again, similar themes, similar movie style as the original from a plot perspective. We're going to keep going. You can imagine and guess what's next. It's Goldfinger, kind of following the books here. We're going to do Taylor Swift just because I know all the Taylor Swift fans want her to be in a Bond movie. So fine. I don't even know her music that much, but Taylor Swift, she'll figure it out. Stellan Skarsgård as Goldfinger. I think he'd be pretty solid in that type of a role. And then Jennifer Lawrence as the girl. And you're like, why Jennifer Lawrence? She's from Louisville. It's close to Louisville, Fort Knox. So I was like, yeah, throw her in. She hasn't been in a Bond movie. Not a huge fan, but why not? Got to remember, in the original, Pussy Galore is a little older. She's probably 40 when she's in it. And you need somebody who has a little bit more gravity in that type of role than just like a walking out of the ocean in a bikini. So we'll go with Jennifer Lawrence. And then lastly, to finish it off, in 2025, last year, we had Thunderball. And Thunderball's Tom Hiddleston. But we're doing something that I cannot believe has not been done in Bond yet. Go to Australia. We have not, of all the places, there's venomous snakes, there's kangaroos, there's you name it, fun place to go. Like, let's do Australia and let's use Australia with the actors and things. So like Margot Robbie's from Australia. Hugh Jackman's from Australia. Kylie Minogue's from Australia. Let's just do a good Bond Australia movie. And use Thunderball, because Thunderball's like in the ocean, all that stuff. You can have that wherever. So we're just going to kind of tweak the location to do that. So that gets us to today. I think you could continue with Tom Hiddleston movies, going forward for maybe a couple more, maybe 3 even, and then move on. Now, the other thing I think they could do is if they wanted to, and at this point we're way oversaturated, right? We know that. But this is a good place too, where if you wanted to continue the legacy of like another 00 agent, go ahead and do it. I am not a big proponent. Like if somebody said, oh, we need a black James Bond, I don't agree. I think that's lazy, because what it does is it's just like taking a black actor and putting it in this classic character. Build one that's good by itself. Like I would have loved Idris Elba to be a 009 agent and make it his own thing. Give him his own theme. Give him his own, story. Because it's much more interesting than just rehashing the same thing, but with like a black actor or Hispanic or whoever else. So I hope that as they continue, they kind of keep that, because that's the same thing that threw me with Daniel Craig. Like it's just not a James Bond looking character, and so I'm out of it. But I wouldn't mind if they kind of got back into using that, or even if they're the villain concepts with like Trevelyan and that kind of thing before. So a lot of opportunities going forward. It's so hard though, because they always get screwed up with this copyright stuff. There's, if you go back and read like, oh, this person wrote this much of Thunderball and this person wrote this much, therefore they both get it, and that's why never say never again. It's like, that's nuts. Like at some point it's just going to become part of the public domain maybe, and they can do it well. But these movies are fun. Like I said, if I was going to like make AI movies, this is kind of around what I would do. Think of your own. Think of what you would do differently with Bond to make it good. I'd much rather each era have its own like start and finish than it be like try to continue as if it's the same guy. But that's just me. So certainly welcome any other ideas, but these are mine. So that's the end of my Bond journey. That's the last video I'm going to do on it. I'm sure I'll see some more down the road, but it'll be a while. So I'll come back to them later.